Welcome to the St. John Paul II National Shrine Virtual Art of Prayer series. This Sunday evening series usually takes place in the Shrine's Luminous Mysteries Chapel, where we gather to practice the art of prayer. Today, on the Feast of the Sacred Heart, the Shrine opens this virtual chapel for a meditation on God's merciful love. This meditation, honoring the 40th anniversary of Pope John Paul II's encyclical Dives in Misericordia, Rich in Mercy, leads us to the heart of the Father revealed in the heart of Christ, broken open on the cross, after he expired, suffocating. These past few months, the cry of those unable to breathe has resounded loudly around us, in those dying from coronavirus or brutal murders, and in those seeking relief from the burden of daily life. Today, in adoring the Sacred Heart of Jesus, may we join in his solidarity with all those suffering. In adoring his most sacred heart, let us renew our trust in him, from which the fount of mercy gushes forth for the whole world. Today, in the words of St. John Paul II, in adoring his most sacred heart, let us pray fervently for peace. Peace in our hearts, peace in our families, in our nation, and in all the world. Heart of Jesus, our peace and reconciliation, have mercy on us.
Just after his release from the hospital in 1981, Pope John Paul II went on pilgrimage to the Shrine of Merciful Love, founded by Blessed Mother Speranza in Italy, and spoke these words.
A year ago, I published the encyclical Dives in Misericordia, Rich in Mercy, on the inconceivable and unfathomable mystery of God's mercy. This made me come to the sanctuary of merciful love today to reconfirm the message of that encyclical, right from the beginning of my ministry in St. Peter's See in Rome. I considered this message my special task before God in the present situation of man, the Church, and the world.
He repeated this understanding of his pontificate during his visit to the Shrine of Divine Mercy in Krakow in 1997, saying,
The message of divine mercy has always been near and dear to me, which I took with me to the See of Peter, and which in a sense forms the image of this pontificate. Pray with me unceasingly that God will have mercy on us and the whole world.
In Rich in Mercy, Pope John Paul II proclaims the message of the mercy of God as being present from the start of salvation history and brought to its fulfillment in the person of Christ.
Following the teaching of the Second Vatican Council and paying close attention to the special needs of our critical and difficult times, I am compelled to draw attention once again to Christ, who is the face of the Father of mercies and God of all comfort. Christ confers on the whole of the Old Testament tradition about God's mercy a definitive meaning. He speaks of it by the use of parables, but above all, he himself is mercy. To the person who sees mercy in him, God becomes visible as the Father who is rich in mercy. During the holy days of his Passion and Resurrection, Christ gave confirmation once and for all of the fact that God, who is rich in mercy, out of the great love with which He loved us, even when we were dead through our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. Christ the new Adam, you fully reveal us to ourselves. Did you not say that our Father, who sees in secret, is always waiting for us to have recourse to Him in every need? Enable us to see you as the mercy of the Father, close to us in our humanity, especially when suffering. The words of Mary's Magnificat have a prophetic content that concerns both the past of Israel and the whole future of the people of God on earth. We have every right to believe that our generation too was included in the words of the Mother of God when she glorified that mercy shared in from generation to generation.
Over the last few centuries, God has not tired of raising a multitude of apostles of mercy to echo Mary's Magnificat. Some stand out at major turning points. On the eve of the 18th century, Saint Margaret Mary received fervent words from Jesus. "My divine heart is so passionate with love for mankind and for you, it can no longer contain within itself the flames of its burning love." Jesus, mourning indifference and ingratitude, desired to make known the divine treasures of which his heart is the source. 2 centuries later, Saint Therese of the Child Jesus overcame the religious atmosphere of her era marked by fear. She pierced anew the mystery of the Sacred Heart. She wrote,
"I do not see him like everyone else does. I see him as the heart of my spouse, belonging only to me as I belong to him alone." I need a heart burning with tenderness, who will be my support forever, who loves everything in me, even my weakness, and who never leaves me, day or night. I must have a God who takes on my nature and becomes my brother and is able to suffer. I hide myself in your Sacred Heart, Jesus. I do not fear. My virtue is you. I know well all our righteousness is worthless in your sight. To give value to my sacrifices, I want to cast them into your divine heart. I hide myself in your Sacred Heart, Jesus. I do not fear. My virtue is you.
Therese shares the secret of this heart, mercy.
Since it has been given to me to understand the love of the heart of Jesus, I assure you that it has chased all fear from my heart. The memory of my faults humbles me. It reminds me never to rely upon my own strength, which is only feebleness. It reminds me even more, constantly, of mercy and love. It is trust, only trust, that shall lead us to love. To me, God has given His infinite mercy.
The heart of Christ, His Sacred Heart, has given men everything: redemption, salvation, sanctification. Saint Faustina Kowalska saw coming from this heart that was overflowing with generous love 2 rays of light which illuminated the world. By divine providence, the life of this humble daughter of Poland was intertwined with the history of the 20th century. In fact, it was between the 2 world wars that Christ entrusted his message of mercy to her. Those who remember the horrible sufferings of millions know well how necessary this message was. Sister Faustina saw Christ as the merciful God, yet she contemplated him not so much on the cross, but rather in his subsequent state of risen glory. She linked her mystical sense of mercy with the mystery of Easter, in which Christ appears triumphant over sin and death. It is not a new message, but can be considered a gift of special enlightenment that helps us to relive the gospel of Easter more intensely, to offer it as a ray of light to the men and women of our time. With these sentiments, we are celebrating the 2nd Sunday of Easter as Divine Mercy Sunday. Let us relive this Easter moment with great spiritual intensity. Risen Jesus, you show us your glorious wounds and heart, the inexhaustible source of light and truth, of love and forgiveness. You entrusted to the apostles the gift of forgiving sins, a gift that flows from the wounds in your hands, your feet, and especially from your pierced side. From there, a wave of mercy is poured out over all humanity. Let us dispose ourselves to receive it today.
From the Diary of Saint Faustina.
Jesus said, I desire that the Feast of Mercy be a refuge and shelter for all souls. Mankind will not have peace until it turns with trust to my mercy. All grace flows from mercy, and the last hour abounds with mercy for us. Let no one doubt concerning the goodness of God. Even if a person's sins were as dark as night, God's mercy is stronger than our misery. One thing alone is necessary, that the sinner set ajar the door of his heart, be it ever so little, to let in a ray of God's merciful grace, and then God will do the rest.
This confession of trust in the all-powerful love of God is especially needed in our time, when mankind is experiencing bewilderment in the face of many manifestations of evil. The invocation of God's mercy needs to rise up from the depth of hearts filled with suffering, apprehension, and uncertainty, and at the same time yearning for an infallible source of hope. Christ wanted to reveal that the limit imposed upon evil, of which man is both perpetrator and victim, is ultimately divine mercy. Today, let us repeat these simple and straightforward words of Saint Faustina. I trust in you. We wish to proclaim that apart from the mercy of God, there is no other source of hope for mankind. We desire to repeat with faith, Jesus, I trust in you. Mercy in the New Testament is able to reach down to every prodigal son, to every human misery, and above all, to every form of moral misery. When this happens, the person who is the object of mercy does not feel humiliated, but rather found again and restored to value. Let us thank the Lord for his love, which is stronger than death and sin. His love, revealed and put into practice as mercy in our daily lives, prompts, in turn, every person to have mercy towards the crucified one. Is not loving God and loving one's neighbor and even one's enemies, after Jesus' example, the program of life of every baptized person and of the whole church? God, merciful Father, in your Son, Jesus Christ, you have revealed your love and poured it out upon us. In the Holy Spirit, the Comforter, we entrust to you today the destiny of the world and of every man and woman. Bend down to us sinners, heal our weakness, conquer all evil, and grant that all the peoples of the earth may experience your mercy. In you, the triune God, may they ever find the source of hope. Eternal Father, by the passion and resurrection of your Son, have mercy on us and upon the whole world. Amen.